You know what I would be curious about, since you explained to me how you got your start with raising money for Mahander.
Uh,
I'd be
Oh my
curious.
God.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear how you guys even found your Pasadena deal, how that all came together.
Well, those are two different things. I mean,
they tie very closely together, though. They tie very closely together, and one of us should definitely tell that story. Maybe not the whole story, but from the Mahander to the how Gemstone Partners came about, because it's a hilarious story. And what I didn't tell Eli is the Max Thrush equation.
Oh my God.
Remember that guy?
Oh my God.
Oh
What?
my God.
What's the max thrust equation?
Papa's got to tell this story.
No, you tell.
Okay,
the story.
I'll tell the story. All right. So I think this was for sure. Gemstone Partners was starting. We had just, I think we had pulled all of our money. Most of the people that we had put into deals, unfortunately, with Mahander had pulled their money, which was 3-4 years down the road into the future. Sucked for all of them, because those deals made so much money to whoever stayed in the deals. However, most of the money we raised, the people who we had gotten invested with Mahander just grew impatient. I think after 2 years of waiting and not having a return yet, they grew impatient, right? Because the whole idea that we were selling people on was 12 to 24 months. So
Return of their capital.
yeah, 12 to 24 months, you're going to double your money. Kind of, that was the idea. And these deals, I mean, some deals went faster, some deals went slower. The ones we were in were slow, and there were definitely difficulties along the way. So transition over to where we stopped doing business with Mahander. Pop and I don't know how the conversation really starts, but we start talking about, okay, I think we can do this ourselves. I mean, Mahander, he's got an algorithm. He went to MIT for math. He's got a PhD in mathematics. We can figure this out, right? Like, we'll go get the software. We'll start sifting through the notes. And along that process, so we go get this software.
Did you have to buy the software?
We had to go buy the software, and it was a company that basically provided us all of the data to every single bank in the United States, 30-day, 60-day, 90-day default list. So we could see.
Oh, like
Oh my
CoStar.
God, I forgot.
Yeah,
all
so
about
we
this.
had access, and we could go,
Wow.
oh, Bank of America has all of these non-performing loans.
Right.
And so the idea was, okay, we would go through, pick, some that we liked, and go to the bank and start going, hey, would you sell some of these to us? We'll take it off your list. Just try doing the pitch that Mahander did. We had never been in any of those meetings. We didn't know really how Mahander was pitching it, how he got them to eventually sell him the notes. I knew a little bit about it, but I'm sure there's a lot that he left out.
And you're contacting the bank to take bad debt off their books rather than contacting the owner and saying, hey, I know you're not performing on your loan.
It was to go to the bank to sell us a note, because once we owned the note, then we had leverage with the owner to go, we're now your lender. We're going to either foreclose on you, you can sign over a deed in lieu of foreclosure, or maybe we'll even give you some quote-unquote cash for keys type money. And I forget the name of the person who's in charge of these notes. Do you know the name of the person at each bank who we were going to try and reach out to? So we had to go and try and find. In this software, it told you what they had that was going bad. It didn't tell you who to call. I think it had some general contact info, but you had to call through and try and find the right department.
It didn't say Frank Weber.
It
and
didn't
then
say
give his
call
number.
this guy. This is the guy you want to talk to if we want to buy one of our notes. It was like you still had to go. Like I was looking on LinkedIn. I would Google people. I would call this person and get transferred to this person. Lo and behold, not very easy. Most of the people didn't call me back or even respond. And then the people I did talk to were just like, notes? You what? I sell you notes? Like, what are you talking about? Like, they talked to me like they didn't even know what I was
So
talking
get
about.
to the point. How did you meet Max?
All right,
I
so
forgot now.
So Max I had been involved with Max raising money. When I was raising money for Mahander, most of the people that I got in contact with was through LinkedIn or somebody I talked to on LinkedIn or emailed referred me to this other person, and there were these kind of middlemen who would come to us and say, hey, give me a cut, give me a little commission, and I'm going to bring you some investors. So Max Thrush was this unique individual who connected me to I forget the name, but a couple Israeli investors who ended up investing. And
Oh my God.
so he made a
Oh
cut
my
of
God. And
commission.
then Joshua's Jewish and Max isn't, so the Israelis went straight to Josh.
Yeah, so they dealt with me, and
Oh, they cut him out?
they did.
They cut him out as
They
fast as they could.
They cut him out, and then I said, no, I will make sure you get paid. And then I don't think we ever, did I pay him,
Who?
Max?
I think you remember if you pay someone.
Well, he threatened a lawsuit, so it's like
He
it's
was a
like,
strange guy.
I don't remember how it all happened, how it went down. Where well, see, we were trying to make him a partner instead of just giving him commission. He wanted to be a partner in the business.
Oh, that's
So-
how it led to. So I owed him a commission, a portion of the commission that was earned on one of the investors. I think the investor brought in $500,000, so I got a $50,000 commission, and he was supposed to get, I think, 25% of that.
You were making 10% commission
Yeah, we were
on
making
money
10,
raised?
We were making 10%,
insane.
which is insane.
Insane.
Like it was.
You
would
make 300,000. You bring in somebody for $300,000, right? Which is a piece of cake.
You
make 30 grand.
Yeah.
So then you're projecting that your returns on whatever the deal would be astronomical, because you obviously have
For
to
sure,
take that
for sure.
50 or 30 grand
Well,
and
when you talk about
pay it back.
yeah, they were astronomical.
Jesus.
Because you're not, we weren't going after prime properties that were, A properties at the top of the market. That's the other thing.
So what happened? So
So lo and behold, we
Max Thrush, Jesus.
somehow we say, hey, we're gonna go start doing this on our own, and
No. Wait a minute.
Okay, so you
we
tell
didn't.
the story.
It wasn't somehow. Max started wanting to control too much, and then we realized that we jumped the gun by trying to bring him into a
No. I was talking about the beginning, how we even got to Max. You're skipping ahead.
Okay.
So Max, I have this relationship with Max along with a million other people, like Bill D that I introduced you to. Bill
Right.
is way more legitimate than Max turned out to be, but Bill was kind of the same spectrum, just not a registered realtor or a broker, not doing anything on the market. It was all off-market connections. I'm going to connect you to this person, this investor, this deal. So Max, we tell Max, hey, we're going to go off and do this on our own. And Max had quite a bit of experience dealing with notes, raising capital, bringing in investors, analyzing the deals. And so we said, okay, why don't you come in and partner with us? So we bring him in, we form Gemstone Partners, and he owns a third of it. We give him a third.
wow.
Yeah, so we negotiate back and forth. The whole time, like, we're finding out a little bit more about this guy. Like, we met him. He actually came down to Papa's house and was half of his face, like, he had something wrong. Like, he had some kind of a face cancerous surgery. His face was, I think, deformed on one side. I mean, just a very strange guy.
Super salesman.
And very
Super
sensitive.
personality. So that if you just were dealing with him over the phone, it would be like, dealing with you. His personality was great. He was friendly. He could sell anything. He could sell used car, that was trash and make you want to buy it. So he had a really magical personality, but he had some fatal flaws that Josh is going to tell us about.
No,
His
no.
face, no.
I
That
was
was
just
just
trying to
the
add some
beginning.
context.
That was just the beginning.
Yeah. No, so we find out as we're going through it, so somehow some other people who had invested through him get to me and warn me a little bit and go, Max has done this business dealing with me and like didn't pay me, and he did this business and stole money from the business, and he's lost this license over here. We start finding out some dark, mysterious things because a lot of the things he would tell us were like, oh yeah, like I don't know how he wanted us to pay him, or I don't know if he didn't have a bank account. I think like he wanted us to send money
part of it
somewhere
because
else.
we started asking for contribution. He didn't have any capital at all.
Right.
He let us on, and he was like living out of hotels, and just the picture that he painted before we met him was quite different than the reality.
What did he want? Some sort of payment as an advisory fee so that he could run it through a separate entity? Because I know that's how people take commissions. You run it through a LLC or entity that has been created to say that you're an advisor to somebody, and then that business generates the income.
Yeah, he everything he wanted became.
It was just very sketchy. I don't think, like, every time we would be like, oh, send us this info, we need to get you on the bank account. Oh, send us this for the LLC, or send us this for our lawyer, or hey, we need this stuff, or like, what's your address? You know, like there was always some excuse.
Well, not only that, I think that's part of it too. When one of the banks started asking us questions, because there was some shady stuff that he had going on. So we had already signed a partnership deal with him. So then we had to backtrack, and that was what was the scary part. Because
Who put the operating agreement together?
Probably me.
No, I did. I put it together, and thankfully, I also knew Papa and I had a majority share, so we voted him out of the LLC.
Nice.
There we go.
And
there
thank
we go.
God we got
there
out of that
we go.
one.
That's right.
Because after we started going, dude, this is not lining up. Dude, this is lining up. This is a little awkward. We're starting to have difficult conversations with him. Then he started getting defensive and like, oh, if you cut me out, I'm gonna sue you, and you're gonna owe me on all these future deals that you do. And like, we hadn't done a single fucking deal. Excuse my language. We hadn't done any deals, and he was already talking about like we owed him this, and he had all this paperwork, etc. And so I looked it up. I think maybe I might have called Stuart, and then I just wrote up Papa and I held a shareholder meeting. Max was unavailable. We voted him out, blah, blah, because we had majority share.
So it was
and we sent it to him.
66.6 versus 33.3.
Yeah. And so we sent it to him, and that was it. And
holy moly.
And so then, we're proceeding forward, trying to find notes, and I don't know how long Papa and I did the whole note thing before. So we're sifting through every day. My job was to sift through notes and reach out.
And what's a note?
Non-performing loan.
Okay.
So my job was to sift through all of this data and go through and see, okay, what does Bank of America have on their books? What does Chase have on their books? And a lot of it was these small lenders or banks that you'd never heard of, right? Who maybe had one branch or didn't even have a branch. And just to reach out to them and just say, hey, are you interested in selling any of your notes, any of your bad debt? I think we got maybe close to somebody who started saying, oh yeah, okay, hey, we're willing to talk to you. And, but it was very difficult. I mean, we had like no luck other than I think maybe I was starting to make inroads slowly. And so we started realizing, wow, this is not that easy. And in the meantime, also, I had cultivated some off-market relationships. For example, Bill D, who I introduced you to, Max Rush had been one of them, and there were a slew of other off-market brokers who would send me deals, not necessarily notes, but just deals. And
that goes back to your relationship thing that we were starting off before the show started, was just Joshua building relationships.
Right. Being able to call.
Just being able to cultivate relationships where people trusted you could pull the trigger and make something happen, and getting people to start funneling us off-market deals before they would funnel them to somebody else. And Joshua developed some good relationships that got us into us into the brothers. The next level of the Jewish Brotherhood connection.
Yeah, and I don't even know. I don't know. Go for it.
In case any of you guys are listening out there, these guys have a Jewish genetic connection that I've told them to be quiet about most of the time and use when you need to. And Joshua has developed his to the max.
Yeah.
So what were the guys' names? The brothers, Max? No.
No. I actually don't remember their names.
Huh. Anyway, we through this D guy, and then we got connected to Roger, and Roger was sort of the deal finder, putting together the deals for these two Jewish brothers in Pasadena, and they were in their mid 80s, I think.
I think they were like 85, both 85.
Yeah,
85, 86.
and super vibrant guys, super down to earth guys, and and it was the first time that Josh was Jewish and it's paid off, because we could sit there in the room and literally make that connection, which is really interesting. I mean, you can't, it doesn't really matter that it's Jews connecting with Jews. It's just people feeling comfortable with other people, and immediately they felt really comfortable with Joshua and me.
Yeah.
And it's just circling back to the whole thing about why all you guys are so successful is because of personalities, and your personalities, of course, come from me. So. So it's a circle.
Yeah. I one funny thing though, to just go back to, I don't know if this was just purely dumb or just the confidence that I had at the time, but we sit down for our first meeting with these Jews in their office, and I say Jews, I shouldn't say it like that, but these two brothers, who turn out to be Jewish, and I mean, they are straight out of a movie. They're these two brothers. They got smiley grins on their face. They look like they are having the time of their lives. They don't give a fuck about anything. They got 100 pieces of property that they've repossessed over time, being hard money lenders.
They're lenders. They're Jewish money lenders.
And we're sitting over here with these, Italian, big old Italian Roger, who's their broker, who introduced us to him. And he's a jolly old, you can tell he's the go-getter. He's the deal. He's hungry for making deals happen. And he's just like, yes to everything, we can make that work. And so so then there's Papa and I sitting across this table, this big table. They're sitting there, Roger's over here, and we're over here. And we're sitting with them.
Josh and I are as relaxed as these two brothers are.
We're very relaxed.
None of us care about anything other than just getting to know each other.
Yeah,
and I'd have to say that that's what sold these guys.
But going back to what I did is, I don't know what it is they said, but I just said, "Oh, are you guys Jewish? I'm Jewish too." Like, just like that. That's great. We're both Jewish. I literally just said it, and they went along with it. They didn't seem offended. They just like, "Oh, you're Jewish," and then I think that warmed them up even a little bit more. But in hindsight, you probably wouldn't want to do that. So it's just. Funny.
I don't think so. If I know someone's Jewish, I'll just say that almost every time. Oh, are you Jewish?
Yeah.
I usually try to make it so that somebody's at least aware. I'm Jewish by birthright due to my mother. I'm not a practicing Jew, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And in Judaism, I mean, what I think is pretty accurate is that is the key. So there are people who can convert to Judaism, but traditional conservative Judaism, you got to be born through a Jewish mother.
Right. So I don't think there's any.
So you
problem with
you guys are the real half deals.
Yeah, we are the half deals.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because ever since that meeting with those brothers and eventually putting that deal together, and I've told this, I think, to Papa numerous times, and maybe even to you, Eli, is that I have consistently stumbled into business dealings, majority of it in my management company, with Jewish clients.
How about you?
And not on purpose, having no idea, and then just finding out and going, wow, that's interesting. And it always started off with this mutual connection of like we liked each other
Yeah.
and we got along and we
Well,
seemed to have similar
Joshua
values.
has said something many times to me, and I don't know if you or Lorian have had this experience, but he definitely says that he connects with Jews in business pretty easily and comfortably. But has that come across with your experience at all?
I mean, I've never really done any type of business deals or had any connections with,
Or just friends?
Yeah, most definitely. I think most Jews who are, in business are typically conservative, and that connects really well with other business people. They like.
Jack and Sean are Jewish.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so is Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch is Jewish. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's something that I've paid attention to, but Jack's, huh?
Is Jeff?
Oh yeah, Jeff's Jewish.
Who's Jeff?
God, Papa.
Oh, your boss.
Who's
Jeffrey. Well, you say Jeffrey. You call him Jeffrey. Who's Catherine?
Oh yeah, Jeffrey. Jeffrey's Jewish. Actually, you know what, Josh? Yeah, the more that I think about it, most of the people that I've dealt with, that I've had the most enjoyable time
let's try
with,
to identify
are
that.
Jewish.
What do you think that is? Because it has nothing to do with you guys being raised culturally as Jews or following any Jewish practice.
I don't know about
I
that.
think it's exactly what you two mentioned, which is it's a comfortability kind of. Oh, okay.
Comfortability with what though?
You can automatically come into my little circle
But why?
because you have a background of being Jewish.
But I think it's something
before
that.
they even know, because this happens, at least in my experiences. I have found out. I didn't find out when I first meet somebody or first start talking to them or first start doing business with them. It's generally we decide to do business together, or we've gotten past and we're very comfortable with each other, or we're in the middle of a deal to where I'm finding that out. And so I think it's the opposite. I think it's that it has nothing to do with them or you knowing either is Jewish. It is that.
So what is it? I think I know what it is. So when I met your mother, one of the things that my dad planted the seed, as we've discussed so many times, about starting your own business and being an entrepreneur. And he was really the first generation coming from a very poor, uneducated Polish background in even considering starting his own business. So he passed those seeds on to Uncle John and me. And when I met your mother, all of her family had businesses. They were running their own businesses, and what I was noticing was how comfortable she was with that. And I think it's this entrepreneurial familiarity that, it's just like these brothers that we met. They went from running shoe businesses or something like that to being money lenders, because it was familiar in their culture and their background. And your mother's, growing up, Vanina worked for her uncle who ran a clothing store, and your mother, and she worked in the background in the books, in the bookkeeping, while your mother and your grandmother Meme worked out in the front selling the clothing. And I remember thinking to myself, your mother just had it naturally, whereas I had to work at it. I had to struggle with it. And then you guys were the third generation, so it came even easier to you. And in the business world, I think that that's kind of what you're talking about. You're talking about being comfortable and having a sense of familiarity with entrepreneurial ideas.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point, because if you look at each of us, and especially look at Lorian. Like Lorian has the
even younger,
and the confidence and comfortability to go meet with an owner, put together an estimate. Now he's putting together, and he's got friends of his working with him.
He's doing stuff
and doing jobs that when I was his age, I don't necessarily know that I would have had the confidence or
no, it's very true,
to do. And I don't think anybody even, there are very few people his age who have that kind of confidence, I think, and just go get it attitude. Like, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna go out here and like start my own little kind of business. And now he's created.
How would you say that, Lorian? How would you talk about your own growing up generationally behind these brothers, behind me, behind Uncle John, behind our businesses?
I think there was never a doubt that all of us were going to own our own company. That was just...
That's interesting.
Since I could remember.
It's really interesting.
There's never, ever once where we either had the conversation or it was even in my brain, and I'm sure Eli and Josh can say the same thing, that when we were growing up, we thought, oh my God, we're going to go to college and get a degree and then get a job after that and work this job until we can retire.
Yeah, I tried that.
I was like, oh, we'll just start a business. We don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to start one. It's going to be successful. We might fail. Then we'll start another one, or we'll just go on and keep doing that.
Yeah. And
figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
That's the way it's always been.
Yeah,
No,
and look
really,
how it...
And I have a bunch of friends who I went to SDSU with. Not a single one of them have that in their brain. They don't know how to think like that. And I'll hammer it into them. Even my best friends who, I work with, who I hire. It's like I try and explain this to them and, the way I think, and they're just like, I'm getting this degree and I'm gonna make good use of it. And I'm like, well, you could go into business with me and we could grow something. And he's like, I don't know, I might disappoint my parents if I don't put this degree to good use and get a job. It's very scary to them.
That's very good point, because that just shows you what we've talked about a million times, which is that academia doesn't teach you anything about being an entrepreneur or starting your own business. And in fact, it could be a detriment. It could be planting, it sets up the seeds for being in a cubicle, for being a sheep, being inside of a corporation. That's really, academia is tied to the corporate world and getting people to be good. What'd you say? Sheep.
Well,
Sheeple.
just in following a boss.
It's not, and I should take a step back and say that's not a bad thing, but that is something that only somebody who has done what you guys have done, which is started your own business and developed that side of yourself, it's only when you do that you can see the other side.
Think back to when we were kids. I was probably 8 years old. Eli was doing it at the same age. We were selling things on the boardwalk.
Well, Lorian, we were going to warehouse spaces filled with hundreds of thousands of beads, buying beads.
We were going to gemstone conventions.
Yeah, we were going to
in Del Mar. Yeah,
we were going
Del
to
Mar.
warehouse
Or the
conventions where they sold beads. Then we were going to bead stores and buying wire and buying tools, and then learning how to put the beads on the string and then tie those together with tassels and then present them for other people and come up with our own prices based off of, hey, I spent $100 on beads, I spent $50 on equipment, and I have this table and this cloth, and I want to put them out and I want to make a profit. So what do I need to do to make a profit? Well, breaking it down into each little piece. Okay, I'll make $100 if I sell 5 pieces or 10 pieces. So I need to sell 15 pieces to break even and make a profit. So just in thinking is.
And if you think about it, tell them how you started, because you really started off with other entrepreneurs, because people who are creating jewelry are usually, little entrepreneurs. So you started off taking classes somewhere, and then you got some jewelry person actually to come over to the house and show you some of her techniques. Am I right?
I don't know if I took a class on how to make anything.
Down at Pacific Beach.
No, and they're still there, by the way. I just went and saw them about a week
Beads and
ago.
more? Beads and more?
Huh?
The store?
Yeah.
Beads and more.
Mall where Shock Fitness is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the promenade.
I just went and saw him. Juan and Julia. David and I saw him.
Serious? You just
David and I
the-
saw him surfing a couple months back
How awesome.
in La Jolla.
Wow.
And they're still in the same position. They have had that bead store. They are husband and wife who just love each other and love to hang out and make jewelry and provide beads so that other people can make jewelry. But they used to be in Mission Beach for a little bit. And
But don't you remember there was also someone from Ocean Beach?
yeah, but that was for painting.
Okay, tell us about that. What do you mean?
I got, or no, sketching. So I got sketching
No,
instructions.
no. That was a man that you went to.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the woman, the lady who made jewelry, who came over to the house and showed you some of her techniques.
Made the big round clay thing.
No.
No, not her.
No, I don't remember this.
You don't remember that? Okay.
You'd have to jog my memory.
Well, there was just somebody.
Oh, wire wrapping. You're right. So
Yes.
right, we used to take wire and you could
You
press
used
it,
to.
yeah, and wrap it around. So I
Or
would
the
make
earrings.
Right.
That's when you went from bracelets to earrings.
Right. When I got into wire wrapping, I did have somebody that came by to show me a couple different techniques. You're right.
Yeah, because you did it. Didn't you start doing it too with it was with silver
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then you
and
guys.
bending it, and you had the tools to like
Yeah.
create. Yeah.
I mean, I was
But then
making a
that-
couple $100 in a weekend easily with selling maybe $30 worth of material.
And how old?
Probably 8, 9, 10, 11 years old.
By 11 years old, you had regulars from Arizona who were coming back to buy your
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, I had regular customers that would just buy it to support me. And Ed Hockley's wife would just buy
Oh.
wine glass.
Yeah.
What are those called? Where you put them on the bottom of your wine glass to remember that it's yours.
Tags.
Tags. Yeah. Wine. So you knew that this was your glass. You just put it on, and she would buy 5, 10 of them at a time just
Oh,
to support
God,
me.
I remember that.
But I mean, I was
before they even moved there.
yeah, when they would just come for the summer. And I mean, I would set up and think, all right, I got about an hour where I'm going to sit here. And I was telling Papa the other day, one of the things that
Kathy.
I did that is literally a tactic that corporations use is I would say, you buy one and get one half off, or you buy I'm having a sale. And I would just mark up what the original price was and say you're getting it for $12, but the original price was always $12. So I'd say it's usually $18, but you're going to get it today for 12. And people would buy it because that's just the way that we think is, oh, I'm getting a good deal.
Psychology.
And
Yeah.
I mean, where did that come from? I was 12 years old. How did where in my learnings did I ever figure that out?
And so interesting, too, the beach culture in terms of people, entrepreneurs, and starting up little businesses. I mean, isn't it an interesting coincidence that the guy that owned the surfboards from Brazil, that you guys, he wanted all you guys, the cousins and you guys, to be teachers at one point. Tell the story of who this guy is. What's his name?
Emiliano.
Emiliano. I mean, what a
Yeah.
Is it
And
a
now Joshua
coincidence
rents
that,
a house from him.
that Joshua rents a house
Yeah.
from Emiliano, and Alfredo? Remember Alfredo? Before he started up his jiu-jitsu schools.
Oh
what
yeah,
was he
granola.
doing?
He was putting together Brazil nuts with flax seeds and
Almonds.
honey, almonds,
Oats.
and some sort of oat mix, and then pouring honey on it, letting it sit, and then creating little bags in
No, but
plastic.
not just that. Where did he sell them?
He was
When
selling
he
them on the
started,
boardwalk.
He'd go down the beach.
He would
and
knock on
sell
your
'em.
door and say, "Hey, do you want to buy some granola?" And then we eventually figured out, oh, what are you using this granola for? And you put it on top of an acai bowl. That was before he had his jiu-jitsu business.
Well, and who were his first jiu-jitsu clients?
Yeah, our whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting to think about your homeschooling education and entrepreneurial education and beach education, beach culture education, and how all those three also tie into you guys growing up with this familiarity of course we're just gonna start our own business.
Yeah.
As opposed to your Uncle John and me or anybody else who's going into a classroom, learning to be sitting in a cubicle in a desk where you're jumping out of your skin, right? Especially as a gregarious boy.
Yeah.
You guys didn't have that. So you never had this conditioning for the cubicle, and you probably all want to be outside of it all the time because of, it's just interesting to put those pieces together.
Yeah, Lorian, how old were you? 19? I mean, Lorian went down to the waterfront City Hall, went and registered and bought a DBA when you were what, 19, 18 years old?
Yeah, I think it was 18 or 19.
Right. So
Is-
he calls his brother and says,
Well,
"Hey,
wait a minute.
I want to
You gotta
start."
qualify this.
Well,
You gotta qualify it.
Well, he wants to start his own business. So he calls Joshua, or he calls me, or he goes online. He says, "Hey, I want to start doing XYZ business. How do I go about it?" Well, you go down to the town hall and you register and you buy a DBA, doing business as, and then you publish it and register it in the paper so that it can be put out there for San Diegans to see that you have a business. And then pretty soon, a couple weeks later, you get something in the mail and you're now a registered business owner. And pretty soon, 2 years later, he's running all the operations for exterior work, physical work outside of Josh's company. I mean, that is a business. It doesn't seem like it because you see a Target or an Amazon, who are these major corporations, but those are the first steps of starting your own business.
Well, and I think that's why there's so much, frustration among small business owners when the world thinks of corporate America as business and doesn't see the millions and millions and millions of small businesses struggling.
Get mad at big corporations like that, because I'm a small business owner technically, and I see the big corporations and I say, wow, look what this guy did. He started from nothing and he got there. I'm gonna do that. That's what I want to do. And people just don't see it that way. They see it as, oh, he's gonna take my business away. He's gonna, sell what I'm selling for cheaper. And it's like,
Well, as he should, because that's how capitalism works. If I'm going to do the same thing that you're doing and provide a better product and a cheaper price to somebody else, that's what capitalism is. That's how it works.
Yeah, I think the problem though, and the justification where people are angry with big corporations, is where they may have gone astray from the original fundamentals of being a business and competing, in a capitalistic world, and going after regulation and getting government involved to where they can pretty much scoot everybody out of the way and create a monopoly. And that's probably the negative to a company that was once started with, good intentions, good morals, was competing out in the open market, and then is now unfairly competing. Look at Amazon, for example. And you could probably say this about other places like Walmart and Target, etc. I'm not talking about anything in specific, but these companies get to a certain size, their bottom line is only about profit now and representing their shareholders, to where they are now lobbying government officials to enact regulations that make it so expensive and so
To do what?
stifle out small business, to where they have less and less competition and force consumers to them. Because either a small business can't compete with them, or a small business has to have much higher prices, and they can make the prices as cheap as they possibly can. And they're so big that they can afford all of this regulation, but most of the regulation prices out a lot of the
Okay,
little guys.
so the key there is over-regulation doesn't hurt the giant corporation; it hurts the little guy.
Yeah, and it's done on purpose, and in a lot of cases, if you go back and find out how did the regulation come about, well, it was lobbied by a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
To put it in place, because at the end of the day,
How about in our industry, in the real estate development industry? How would you see that? Maybe that's an industry.
I don't know.
Maybe it's an industry
I don't
that doesn't
know.
have that.
No. I mean, you could argue that it's very, very difficult for the little guy. You and I have been the little guy coming in and trying to develop a project, go through the city, pay all the various fees, deal with the regulation, the politics. Whereas if we were a big corporation, hey, we grease the wheels over here, we give a little bit of money here, we donate over here. In fact, our own architects or people afterwards said to us, hey, you probably would have gotten through the city in Pasadena a whole year faster had you just made a donation to the mayor or to a congressman or a politician in Pasadena. I mean, and they just point blank just
And
said,
that has nothing
next
to
time,
do-
make a donation.
And that has nothing to do with ethnicity, does it?
No, and it's not a bribe; it's a donation. So
Yeah,
let's be very
wink,
clear.
wink, wink, wink.
I like you so much. I'm donating this, and I hope you give me a little stamp on that paper.
Yeah, so you need to be connected that way if you want to grow beyond just being
Well,
a smaller guy.
And I'm seeing now in our ground up development endeavors that in Salt Lake City, the Mormons and the church there do
Oh,
not.
be careful. Disclaimer.
No, this is easy to talk about because they're very open about it. The church, the Mormons, they do not want to sell land and development projects to a Toll Brothers. They sold to us, and we were easily able to get
Yeah.
the fire department, the city,
But why?
because we're a small shop and they want smaller businesses and boutique development companies to come in and build there, because a Toll Brothers is going to come in and say, no, this is how we do it. So they have some
Control.
say.
So it's control.
Right. They want to be able to control and say, this is what we're going for.
This is our
Murray-
community.
They don't want to give up too much to a corporate entity who has legal powers.
Right.
To,
That's going to come in.
come in and do whatever they want.
And they're doing a beautiful job of cultivating these 430 square foot loft type apartments, and they wanted us to put small businesses on the bottom floor, so do some sort of mixed use and have community and tons of plants and a rooftop pool so that it would generate traffic into people coming into Salt Lake City. And we're in a little sector called Murray. Salt Lake City's a strip like this, and on each side of the freeway they want 7, 8, 9-story buildings to go up so that they can create more of a mini Las Vegas as far as the building structures. Not that high and not casinos, but they want it to be what they want. They don't want a Toll Brothers that can come in and say, you know what, no, we're going to buy everything here and then we're just going to develop 75 floor apartment buildings. So it is interesting to see how a smaller community like that can control something.
Yeah, well, and it's also kind of cool to look at how regionally a governor or mayor within a particular city or state can say, in our state, in our counties, in our cities, we don't want to let too big of corporate entities come in and spoil something for us in what we want to create in a community. Creating a community is really hard when the entities who are coming in aren't part of that community, because they don't give a shit about, all the things that the people in the community care about.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting balance. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask Eli if he knew what companies were creating all the apartments over in Mission Valley. Because they just haven't stopped developing over there.
No, I don't know Mission Valley, but
And now I drive by, and now I see people living in them, and it's looking nicer and nicer and nicer.
I think they did a wonderful job with right off that freeway across from the golf course where the convention center used to be there. I mean, you needed to put something nicer, and San Diego needs more apartments, but I don't know who built those. Probably 600-700 units in that one.
Yeah, but it's all over that area.
Well, and developing in the question,
From that, too.
the question of how you develop a healthy, vibrant community and not make it ugly, and how you develop a healthy, vibrant community and integrate, your density in certain areas that can handle density and leave room on the outskirts of that density where you can have more open space is quite an art in itself. And that originally is supposed to be what most of the regulations should be tied into. Leaving plenty of open space. So if you look at all the trails in San Diego County, what's happened over the last 20 years, and in your guys' lifetimes, to be able to create walking trails from here all the way out, everywhere you go, every community is getting linked to further and further connecting to trails and lakes and rivers and streams and making more open spaces. So the valley right there is a perfect area. If you look at over, say, 50-year period of time, that would be the next logical place for a downtown to develop.
Because you're not taking away any natural landscape, any foot trails, anything like that.
Well, they have already created, and I forget what the name of the organization is. You guys probably know it, but the San Diego, I don't know, trails and
Parks and Recreation. Or
no,
something?
it's not Parks and Recreation, but if you can bike from the beach all the way through the valley there, right? And you're going up along the San Diego River.
Oh, right. You told me that they've passed something where you have to have a certain amount of trees and walkways throughout San Diego.
Well, just look at the channel that's happening. Just look at where you and I were walking the other day, Eli, where we saw all those white pelicans.
Yeah.
I mean, this ties in with how you build and develop in a way that leaves as much wilderness space open as possible. Now, San Diego in the valley where you were pointing out, those structures, they were taking over space that already existed,
Right.
and they're having to and they're building up while keeping the San Diego River open as much as possible.
I mean, you saw that in Mission Beach when they built those 68 units where the old high school was. They had to build a
Where
center
Where was that?
in Mission Beach where the old high school was.
Right. They had to put a little
Midway High.
No, Papa. In Mission Beach, right
It
now.
was
the
the special
school down
needs school
Yes.
right behind us.
They-
That was shut down for
Yeah.
as long as I can remember.
Right by Lawrence House. Yeah, they put a little sitting area. They put grass and they put a swing set so that families, anybody can walk through there instead of just building track homes.
They didn't put no homeless, right?
No, the homeless are allowed to come and go.
Gosh.
It does look very clean.
It does. It looks. I'm starting to not mind it as much. I might
Well,
just be
it looks a
getting
little
used to
bit
it.
better than that
Well,
old.
I
beaten-up-
didn't mind it at all. I thought it was the silliest thing in the world to fight that development. Because what did you have there? You had a breeding ground for homeless. You just had a vacant building. What are you going to have in there?
Well,
Squatters.
I think the biggest thing
It
was
ugly.
the fact that it was going to create a lot
Massive
more traffic.
But the thing
We already
is
have
that
so much traffic. I mean, what they need to do is, and what I've always said, they need to take, which unfortunately might be ugly, but you could probably build it very beautifully, is they need to go create along the bay on the right side, just east of the roller coaster, some parking garages. Right where the bridge takes off, that whole area, you've got to build a parking garage.
That'll never
I mean,
happen.
that's the norm. That would
It
be the way
will.
How
to.
many more people do you want to go there?
You already have so many people that there isn't enough parking.
But
So-
that
But there is. I mean, I was there all of last summer, and
No, you live in a place.
No, I didn't have my place last summer.
But Josh, don't you think if they
but
create
we're
more parking, that's going to attract more people?
I just think it will make it easier for people to be able to park. Sure, it might attract more people, but I already think you get more people than you have parking as it is.
I think we outvote you, Josh. There's a serious
Which
problem.
turns people away. People might think, oh, I won't find parking in Mission Beach today.
Here's what I think you guys have to think about for
Maybe.
the future of your communities
Maybe.
is we all talked about Little Italy and how beautiful it is there, and certain areas down there where you can walk where there's only foot traffic. You have to figure out ways of minimalizing this trafficked area where you can enjoy, whether it's the downtown area or the natural scenery, without being in this congestion of car traffic.
And
all the
there's-
time.
there's-
and I think the future of electric cars is going to be zooming in and out and picking people up and
Right.
moving them around, and
Right.
you're not going to be able to. Sooner or later, you're not going to be able to have every single one of us have a car in our
There's no
family, and when you can get away with that need from that need and tie it in with the fact that the one thing that everybody needs more of is this human connection. So they need areas. That's why everyone loves Europe.
Yeah.
You have areas where you can go and you could just walk down into your area and
It's
and
almost
not,
odd.
Nobody drives.
Europe did do that one thing right. If they did anything right, it was building
I think
subways.
that was it. That was all they
that
did
was the
right.
one thing.
I mean-
hey, all you Europeans.
I mean, that is cool. You don't see it. It's kind of, it's not the greatest down there, but you don't see it.
But you
And
know
you
why
have
they
these
had to
beautiful
build them,
streets.
Josh?
What?
Do you know why they had to build those? Because their cities are so old that when they built the cities, they didn't build the roads for cars. The roads weren't big enough for cars, so they had to build underground.
That's interesting. So I don't know who I was telling.
Some of the streets are so tiny, and all their cars are different.
Well, they're
than the ones
stone.
that we have.
So you
They're
could have
caught-
horse and carriage.
Well, and I was telling Noah was showing me photos of your guys' trip. And that's funny that you bring that up because I was just telling him, I said, God, the streets, I'm like, I miss Paris because the streets are just so pretty and inviting. It just makes you want to just go down a stroll. You feel like you're in like a Disneyland. So that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense because you don't have these. Here we have just these traditional kind of ugly, straightforward streets, right? It's just black tar, gray cement on the sides, cars on them all day long, every single day. You go through Europe, you're going through the buildings. You don't really see, like you said, you don't see a lot of cars driving by. You can walk down the middle of the street, and they're cool looking streets, and the buildings are beautiful, and they're not damaged by smog and exhaust.
Paris it looks giant, but it's really not that big. It's only like a 3-mile radius.
It's
in the city
condensed
of
in this
Paris.
circle.
But there's I don't know. My numbers probably aren't right. 50 million.
How many people are in Paris, Dave?
No, there's not
Where?
50 million.
No, there's not.
Where?
In
Like
Paris?
10 million?
No,
No.
where? In Paris?
Yeah.
I would say less than 10 million. There's 4 million people in Los Angeles.
Yeah, less than San Diego, but it
But in a
feels
3
bigger.
in a 3-mile radius.
It feels bigger because it's this tight knit circle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's more people in Los Angeles than there are in Paris. But Papa, what you were talking about is when you were referencing, let's just say Tesla, getting rid of cars. That is a future plan, which is everybody can own an electric car, and when autonomous driving cars are the norm, when you're sleeping, your car can then go out on the road, drive itself, and pick up people and act as a taxi. So for the Mission
away.
Beach problem, or Little Italy, when we go to Little Italy, I know in the back of my head I'm not going to find parking, and if I do find parking, it's going to be $45, $25. So the electric car, autonomous driving vehicles, being able to go pick up people, drop them off, and then go taxi other
Yeah,
people.
what's the projection for when that would happen? That's a long-term projection, right?
Right, I would say before the world is comfortable with that, 10 years? 15?
I said 50.
50 years?
Yeah, I don't think it's coming.
You're not talking about the world. You're talking about the United
I think
States.
10 years-
Sure, the United States.
10 to 15 years before almost everybody has an electric car.
Yeah, but along the way...
Wait a minute. You said 10 to 15 years and everyone will have an electric car?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But Loyan,
You mean have one or only have an electric cars?
Have one.
Oh, okay. So the
You know,
huge problem with the United States is, we're the cowboy frontier. We want to own our vehicle. We want to be able to have our independence. We want to be able to drive wherever we want to drive. So getting Americans used to not having ownership or giving up ownership to do something more collectively that's good for the environment like that is a really hard thing to do. Like for example, we have the dumbest, stupidest, slowest, most ridiculous rail system in the first world. I mean, you have China, Japan, and Europe just blitzing by the United States while we still stay with old Amtrak, and it takes us, what, 12 hours to get up to San Francisco when in France or Japan it will be like 2 or 3 hours, right? So why is that? Why is it that we don't have the intelligence to create a speed train that would get people to commute up to the Bay Area in 3 hours one way by train? The reason why is because
Ford makes too much money selling cars.
and we have too much ego investment in our own independence,
Yeah.
in our own cars.
We like the
we
fact that
won't
we can
spend the money on this kind of infrastructure. We won't even be able to talk about it. It'll take a bazillion years to get through regulations to do something like that. So now you're talking about the electric car coming and picking people up. It's going to be forced upon us probably before we do it. I don't know how. What I was talking about though is getting the mindset, the mind frame of where do we all like to go when we like to unwind? Where do we all like to go for peace and relaxation? It's not to sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic. It's not to be, going to our favorite places and having to take 3 hours to get there when it should take 15 minutes because there's so many cars. And once we're there, it's not to sit there and look at all these cars sucking up this gas. It's to be in open spaces of nature, and it's be in communities where people have places outdoors to sit and hang out, and cafes and bars and all of that, and have walking space.
Right. Yeah. And that you're totally spot on. That is where Little Italy has succeeded. I mean, I could definitely go there, and it's not the nature spot that I would choose, but it is enjoyable to start at point A at XYZ coffee shop and just walk up and down and people watch. They did a phenomenal job with that, with not having certain through streets.
They just do they have is it one way? The main one,
Yeah.
India? No, it's not one way.
No,
it's
it's
two
not.
ways.
No, it's
It
two.
is.
It's two
But
ways.
it's one lane. It's just one lane,
It's
and
one
it
lane.
has stop signs every block or so. So you can't go ripping through there.
No,
and half of it is one way.
oh, okay.
India Street.
Okay. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right. India Street is one way.
More than one of the streets down in Little Italy is one way. But
Yeah, one-way streets do help. That's for sure. So go. So do you are you in support of the direction, like we're in California and that's the direction they're going in? I think it's 2030 or 2035 where you're not allowed to make another gas-powered vehicle. It's all electric.
ooh, that's a real.
Oh, were you
That's
gone for this? We were just
all-
wondering how long it's going to take. Lorian said 50 years. I was saying 15.
Oh, take for what? For all the remaining gas, fossil fuel?
No, for
cars to
everybody to
disappear?
be on I own a Tesla, and my Tesla
No,
is
no.
autonomous.
Joshua,
No,
Joshua's
Eli, I
bringing
wasn't
up
saying that.
a ginormous question, though. Oh, what were you saying?
I was saying 50 years before people are comfortable with, letting their car go out and taxi around while they're asleep.
I don't think if they're making money on it, no. I think if you can buy a $40,000 car, have that car take you and drop you off places, and then go make you money while you're at work or hanging out with people, I think people will catch on to that pretty quick.
I love the idea, and up in LA, there's plenty of wealthy people, who are chaperoned around while they're doing business in the back seat of a car. I love that idea.
I just saw a YouTube video of a guy
Trains too for that.
driving in his Tesla on the freeway, getting pulled over because the cop pulled up next to him and saw that he was snoozed off, sleeping, tries to pull this guy over for about 45 seconds, and then turns on his lights. The Tesla realizes that it's getting pulled over and slowly veers off. They pull him out of the car and say, "You were sleeping," and he doesn't admit anything. He just says, "Well, I think that's what you saw," and he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say I was or I was not. He's very, very good. It seems like he had practice for
This
this.
is a real situation.
Oh, this is a real situation. This cop
It's
pulls
a self-driving car.
It's a Tesla. It has autopilot. You're supposed to at all times have your hands on the wheel, but this is the video. And he tries to pull him over for, I don't know, a minute or something.
Oh, and Teslas have a built-in dash cam? Oh, no. This is the cop. Sorry. I didn't realize.
No,
What's
and
the cop?
the car
camera
see
shot.
the Tesla
Oh,
even
yeah.
speeds up because it knows how the distance behind him the car is, how far the police is.
Oh, and it's pulling over.
Right, he pulls him
Wow,
over.
so it has the capability to pull over from police.
Yeah,
in
why not?
self-drive mode.
Why not? Yeah. I mean, Elon Musk's whole idea is why would you have to push a button to start your car or turn a key? If you get in your car knows that you want to drive it.
Yeah, so it's automatically ready the moment you get in.
Oh yeah, this is incredible. And then they say we don't really actually know what we're gonna write you a ticket for.
Yeah, they say that the self-driving capabilities are safer than a human driving.
Except
in a
for
Tesla.
I've heard of some crashes though with people asleep at the wheel and not monitoring.
Did you
I
read
don't think it's quite
into those
perfect
more? Because I think the underlying details of those crashes were that
I
they
mean, that's-
warned them several times.
Sure.
That's
They
kind
said,
of
I'm not saying
ridiculous.
it's not
Warning, put your hands on the wheel, take over control
Yeah.
before
Yeah, but
they-
you guys
before
are
the car
are
hits
Maybe.
talking about a 0.01%
Oh, it's been-
of all car crashes are going to come from somebody driving in a Tesla. It's like saying skydiving is safer than flying in an airplane, or skydiving is safer than parachuting.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that just because you've seen 5 cars crash or Teslas that are using
Oh, you're saying
autonomous driving,
statistics aren't...
statistically, somebody drunk on the freeway is going to crash into me before a self-driving car is, and over time it'll prove that, because it can't ever be 100% safety.
I have a bunch of friends who have a Tesla, and they went on a road trip.
Did
and
that
there's
just say that autonomous cars are involved in 9.1 versus 4.1 for conventional crashes?
Overall, autonomous vehicles were involved in more crashes, 9.1 crashes per million miles traveled compared to 4.1. Well, how many autonomous vehicles do we have to give that kind of information?
And actually, are they considering autonomous? Is that the partial the Teslas? Where I
And-
don't know that that's
there are
full
no
autonomous.
And
Yes,
this is information presented
are.
by Google, and
Oh.
Google's funded by
Chevrolet.
Chevrolet and Ford. So they don't like
Get the background.
Yeah,
Who
they're
doesn't have that
giving too much
technology
money.
yet?
You can't trust
No,
that.
they found out that with Tesla, you have to put your hands on the wheel every however many seconds.
And that's
to
what that
show-
guy says. He says, no, I don't think that's possible because I got to have my hands on the wheel.
So they found out that you could set a water bottle on the wheel, and it feels the weight of that, and it thinks that it's your hand.
What do you mean
So
a
it
water
never-
bottle on the wheel? How are you balancing a water bottle?
You
on
stick
the
it
steering
in the steering wheel. You stick
Oh.
the water bottle in like that,
Oh.
and it feels the weight, so it thinks your hand is there. And my friends all took a nap and went on a road trip, and they
No,
slept.
wait a minute.
4 of them slept
How
the entire
long?
way up to LA.
2 hours?
Yeah.
They
They
didn't
said
drive
no.
in a Tesla?
Yes.
Well, Papa, I didn't even use
it's
my. I
fully
didn't,
autonomous. It has a full.
Wait a
You
minute,
can
wait
put
a
it
minute,
in
wait
an
a minute,
address.
wait, wait,
car,
wait,
and I
wait.
didn't push the
You
brake
have
or the
guys
gas the
that
whole way up to LA.
have just totally
Oh,
trusted
because
the
it has
Tesla
the
to drive them
cruise
Yes.
like my.
without any
Oh,
of them
yeah.
being awake?
Yeah.
Well,
I
this
know-
answers your question. This is gonna be so it's generational. Me, Joshua says he's already
no.
shaky, right?
I would give
Me,
Papa.
I don't want to give up any autonomy to a vehicle, although
I would give
love
Papa-
the idea of being driven around. So around the 35 mile an hour zone, but
Yeah.
on a freeway,
Yeah.
I mean that is total insanity.
I would
to
give
me.
you less than 6 months of having a Tesla and using the
probably
fully
right.
autonomous mode.
No,
before,
what's gonna
before
happen
he's-
is Papa's
before
gonna
he
call
goes,
us
wow,
from
this
his Tesla
drives
and be like,
better than
I don't know
I
how to
do."
turn this thing off. I don't know how to turn this thing off.
You get out. It's just off.
Yeah,
Holy
Papa, it would take
crap.
Papa
This
less than
is-
6
this-
months
He's
before
like, I gave it directions, but it's taking me the wrong way.
No, but that answers the question about length of time. If you've already got a bunch of 22-year-olds sleeping from San Diego to L.A.,
I would do it. I would love that.
you would do that?
Absolutely.
God, don't tell me this shit.
Oh yeah.
It sounds very appealing, but it's also would be you'd probably be too stressed, at least in the beginning.
Lorian
why
probably
I
has
need
the
to do it.
personality
No.
where he could.
No,
Yeah, he smokes
Josh.
a joint and just.
Wait a
You
minute.
get a DUI if you're not technically driving it.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Yeah, you can drink and be driven. Wow.
I think they would still give you a DUI if you're in the the driver's seat, though.
Well,
Okay, but wait a minute. Can we have a little bit more details on this? Did they tell you they were all asleep the whole time?
Papa.
Wait a
come
minute,
on.
wait a minute.
You don't get in a
And
car
where did
and
it
all
start?
four
And where
people-
did
I'm sure somebody would have.
There's
to be
someone
keeping
that
an
was probably awake and checking on it.
eye. Well, the person in the driver's seat. I highly doubt that dude just went.
When a story,
I slept and then I just woke up and I was parked.
No, okay, obviously
Yeah.
not that much. But yes, on the freeway they all took a nap. On the freeway for an hour and a half of.
Was that a nap where he was, zonked out, or a nap with one eye open?
Yeah, get some details on this.
I don't know.
This is very interesting.
Yeah.
Ask exactly how much THC they each had.
That's why I would not.
Wow.
I could not get a Tesla right now. It's because I believe that that would happen to me, and I don't know that they're that safe right now.
Right.
Is that I would get so comfortable that I would fall asleep.
That's what I'm saying is, I think if you got a Tesla and you use the self-driving capabilities every day, like you were Eli, for example, and you lived in San Diego and got an office in Cardiff and had to drive there every single day, and you were using that autopilot. Eventually, you get so comfortable and realize this thing is so safe. I've watched this thing drive me to my office
Yeah, a couple
for
months.
A year.
Behavioral. He's talking about
It
Pavlov's
saved
conditioning.
me from accidents. Why wouldn't I trust it?
Well, saves me from accidents. Yes, you're saying that statistically now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think more
Yeah, I
along
still
the lines
trust my own.
of the
I'm just saying,
habit
I think
over time.
Eventually, everybody's going to get comfortable and realize.
I
that
think
they
you're
are
right.
safe,
I think that's true.
and that they can trust it.
No, I think it's true.
You might be skeptical now. You should be, but
Man, I look at the way you guys are, gonna have to raise your families in the world that you're gonna raise your families in, and this is just one example of the beginning of that.
Yeah,
Just-
I
it
think
just-
there's
it
other
just so-
repercussions.
Huh?
I think there are other repercussions. While it seems nice and it's great, one of them is just, if you all of a sudden don't have to be focused on driving, well, what are you gonna do if you're not asleep? You're gonna be on your phone or on your computer using more technology, not
And what are you
interacting
saying?
with anybody.
Oh, so
not
you're
focused
saying
on
it's just
driving.
gonna be an addition to the technology
Yeah,
consumption.
yeah. I just think that now your time in the car is going to be what? Oh, now, all of a sudden you're just going to be like, I might as well just start working while
All
I'm in the
right,
car.
all right. So
I'm
let's
not gonna
jump
have
in.
any peace and
Good
quiet.
segue. So let's segue into each one of you talking about your own. You use the word addiction to technology, and what you're already doing about it in your personal life.
I wanna
Lauren.
s-
Let's start with
Lauren?
Lauren.
Okay.
Yeah. So start with how addicted you are, how much time, what you do, what your uses and consumptions are, and whether or not, and if so, what are the kinds of ways you've already been implementing to reduce or think about reducing your technology use.
So this is strictly technology, we're not focusing on an aspect of it. Social media, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything that ties in with anything that ties in with what Joshua was saying when he said hey, having a self-driving car is going to allow us to spend more time
That was a phenomenal point, by the way. That is true.
on well, it's only a phenomenal point because we don't talk to each other anymore and we use our technology more and more. So yeah, so that's true. So go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you guys all have the notifications that are on your phone that show you how much screen time you have per day.
It's a notification. No, it's just called screen time where you can look at it.
Look at mine. I've never looked
Yeah.
at it. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, it's a notification.
It-
so
okay.
I
It
get-
pops up.
Oh, I
throughout
don't.
the-
I have all
I'll
notifications
get
off.
some when I'm using more screen time than other days, but I don't even like looking at it. It freaks me out.
So tell us.
4 to 6 hours
Oh, wait.
of screen time on my phone.
Outside
Wait,
of what
wait.
would be productive work.
Yes.
Wait
Yeah,
a minute.
yeah.
Wait a minute.
It's just me looking at my phone. 4 to 6 hours. 4 to 7 hours. Sometimes
So if you do 15 minutes now and 15 minutes later and 15 minutes later,
be like an hour
it's
now.
adding up to 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
A
Okay,
day.
that's just on your phone. Okay,
I don't use my computer.
you don't.
Uh,
Oh, so what do you mean then?
Sometimes I will get into the rhythm of watching a show for a week, and then I haven't used my computer in a couple weeks. I use it for work. I'll spend maybe an hour on work. All I do on my computer for work are invoices.
All right. So what are those 4 to 6 hours spent on?
Instagram, Snapchat, texting, calling.
Okay. So what percentage is Instagram and Snapchat?
Oh, why doesn't he pull up his phone and just look at it? It'll tell you the percentage for each app.
Oh boy. Where do I find it?
And then while you're doing that, what do you think?
My daily average is 4 hours and 53 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, then pull one day.
He said
No, it's daily average, but pull one day to see how much you spend on each app. It'll tell you, it'll break it down and say you spent this much time on Instagram, this much time texting, this much time on the phone. It will tell you so that you can see what's the app that you use the most or what apps.
I use Instagram.
Okay, and tell us the pleasures of Instagram, and tell us the benefits of Instagram, and then tell us if there's any negatives that you see. But start with the positives.
I'd say just constantly getting new information. So I'm constantly seeing a new video or a new article or something new. It's always new. It feeds you new videos, new information all the time. That's a
Stimulation.
Wait a minute. So just to make sure I get this clear. So you're constantly stimulated, but the word was new. So this means one of the specialties of this social media is that it's what someone's doing right now and feeding in right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's exciting. You're getting new information. Is that it?
It's entertaining.
It's entertaining, for sure.
I mean, I get to see videos of things all around the world at all times of the day. Instagram has
But okay, but hold on though.
that feeds me what I like too.
Oh, it's
So-
feeding you stuff. These aren't coming from friends. These are coming from.
Well, okay, so some of it is from friends, but I have so many friends that I follow, and they're posting, only so often.
But you're not activating a search and saying I want to see this stuff.
No.
Something.
It has an algorithm that
He's going through a home feed where most of what he's seeing is not from his friends.
Okay,
It's from people he follows.
All right.
Instagram has an algorithm where they are able to tell how long I look at a certain photo or video, and then they will feed me more of that. So if I see some surfing Instagram account, they'll see, wow, he looked at that one account for 15 minutes. I'm gonna feed him surfing videos. And then
So this is pleasurable because they're sending you stuff that they know you like.
yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
I will, when I know I have to get stuff done, and I'll notice it. Like I'll be working and I'll be on Instagram, and then I'll go out of it, and then I'll click back on it instantly. I'll swipe out of it, go to put my phone away, see the app, click it back into it.
Why will you? Because it pops up.
No, I'll go like this.
I'm looking.
I'll swipe out of it, and then I'll see it, click on it again.
Why?
It's just addicting. I don't
Oh.
know.
You wait a minute. You don't know why?
Why?
Do you know why?
Because of it's addicting.
No. He says he's just closing it.
Papa,
And
it's
then he sees
addicting.
the-
It's so addicting.
That's
Okay.
like
what I
that's
do.
like putting your peace pipe down and then saying, you know what, let me just take one more.
All right. So.
So I'll delete it.
But it's so pleasurable.
It's the motions of touching, scrolling, and
Has nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with it.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
to do
I
with
think
that.
it has a lot to do with it.
No.
Nothing.
There's a trigger in his brain.
It's the
that he-
dopamine rush.
It's
That's
the
all it
dopamine
is.
rush,
Yeah.
but they're feeding him things that he loves to see.
Yes.
Svetlana will go on. She doesn't do a lot of social media stuff, but she's on a Facebook page specifically for cat lovers, and she can sit there and look at cats playing like for hours. She just loves to see or other cute little animals, right?
It's very
So
hard
yesterday
to get.
she brought me this video in the middle of our workday. She says, "Hey, can I interrupt you?" Right? And it was so adorable. These were snow leopards. This woman had taken in for breeding purposes to see if they can perpetuate the species 2 snow leopards. She created this whole space in her acreage for these snow leopards, and they just love to play. It's a male and a female, and it's so adorable, and it's so beautiful to see that. So that's what she loves. You love getting images, you say, of surfing. That's one thing. What's another?
There's a bunch of different things. I mean, they've just gotten it down to a T to where each video is between 15 seconds and a minute, which is probably most people's attention span.
This
But-
is brilliant.
And
This
then
is
they
brilliant.
do a new one,
Mm-hmm.
and you just can swipe through each one. And
But what Papa's
This
asking
is
is
brilliant,
so
though.
Lorian likes surfing. So what else is it? So Lorian likes surfing, fishing. He might like going to music festivals and maybe 5 different categories
All
in
right,
which
so-
Lorian loves. So
so-
he
and they're
knows
feeding
as
him that.
soon as he
Yeah.
gets on there, it's everything that he loves in one place. He's
they'll
like,
throw some random things in there.
All right. So if it's so pleasurable, is there any negative?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's a negative of me spending time in my room, not being productive at all. Just like I'll spend more time in bed, which is unhealthy. I won't, I can spend a whole day. I've spent a whole day just on my phone. I'd say that's not.
I think that's the
Wait a
least
minute.
unhealthy
Wait a minute.
part
Wait
of
a
it.
minute. Wait a minute. Though. Hold on though. One whole day.
Mhm.
Okay. So you say I'm not going to go to. I don't need to go to work today. So since I don't need to go to work, and I'm feeling kind of lazy, and this,
If I'm hungover.
I can get all this pleasure by doing nothing. What?
I said I'll only do that if I'm hungover. I can't spend the whole day in bed if I'm not.
Oh, okay. All right. So half a day. You
Eli wants to go.
No, I was wondering why you didn't finish your question that you were asking.
I was going to ask you because he doesn't have any negatives except for he said staying indoors.
I don't know them.
Yeah.
You don't know what the negatives are.
Think of them
So
all
if you
the
don't
time.
have
I'm sure somebody's gonna mention them, and I'm gonna say, "Oh, yeah, that's it."
because if you don't have any reason to not get off of it, why would you even start to get off of it?
Well,
But
yeah, I don't
what
think.
what is your consumption, and what have you gone through in terms of why you have started to think about cutting down on how much time you spend on your technology if it's so pleasurable?
At this point, I'd say the most time that I spend on my phone or between apps would be FaceTime, backgammon, and probably an investing app. And 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. It's probably my daily average. Yeah, and then any form of entertainment's done on my computer.
Yeah, but you
Or
also
if I
had
listen to a
time period
podcast.
where you were on the same two social platforms that he
Oh,
mentioned.
I mean, I was probably worse than Lorian. I was like 8 hours averaging.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's weekly, so I'll just say a comfortable 5 hours a day between. It was only on Instagram, actually.
So what did it do that you didn't like? Since we already know what the
Yeah.
dopamine rush is and what and we didn't talk a lot about it, but he pointed it out at the end.
There's-
They're getting more and more precise about how short the attention span is.
What social
So-
media did that I did not like is also mixed in with what I did like, which was one, I get to see friends of mine or other people that I follow where they're eating, where they're traveling to, what they're doing, how they're doing it, when they're doing it. So food places is a great example because I got to go to a lot of cool restaurants and eat really good food based off of the fact that I saw my friends posting and saying, hey, it's called food porn, but you could post a photo of a really nice restaurant that you ate at or a boutique little coffee shop. And then I would see where that is and say, oh, this is close to me in Palo Alto when I was in the Bay Area. And then I would go to that place. So that was a positive benefit. But it's also a negative benefit because then I would post while I was at that place to let other people know that, hey, I went to this cool looking place. And then pretty soon I got caught in a loop trap of I'm going and doing things based off of seeing somebody else go and do those things, which is not always negative. But I don't know. I don't know when my brain stopped coming up with ideas and things that I wanted to do, and was almost on an autopilot of, oh well, I saw somebody doing this, and now I'm going to do it.
So you're saying that it was programming you.
Yeah, it was
And s-
programming me to
and you-
become somebody that.
And you decided, hey, where's the part where I'm in charge of my own program?
Right. So there's times.
That's a very, very huge reason to start thinking about our consumption of technology.
Yeah, and it gets a lot worse. I mean, it's the way we dress. It's I'll just say for me, my style, maybe not so much of my style because I had a little funkier of a style, but sure, I was attracted more towards people that wore things that I was interested in.
Let me jump in there for 1 second. So we know already that we're socially, the oriented creatures, and that.
Well, let me just tell you then the downside, because there's positives and little negatives in what I said. The downside is when I'm seeing somebody traveling to Barbados or to Italy, and I'm sitting on a Wednesday in my office in San Francisco thinking, wow, I wish that I was there. The downside is that I can't be there because I have to work, but I also am thinking, what if I could get there? And then I start to form and generate a plan of, okay, you know what? I'm going to go there because I got to go there. I'm seeing 12 of my friends are there. So the downside is that you're seeing all of this stuff that other people are doing, and then you're focusing on how can I do that? And then it's not focusing on what am I doing right now? How am I living my life right now? It's how can I get to where that person is based off of what they're showing me that they're doing.
Yes, and I think that goes back into what we started with the question of, or what you brought up, which is that I'm being controlled and programmed, and I'm not in control of my own program. Or let's say at 27 years old, I've gone from 100% control of my own program to 50% of control, or whatever it is that someone's identifying that we're following someone else's algorithm. And I think that that's probably the starting point for any of us when we're analyzing why we want to cut back on our technology consumption because of control. And then when you start analyzing control, then you start looking at, well, as you and I have talked about so many times, well, how much of my own thoughts are mine?
Yeah, which is a very small percent.
And then that ties in with the whole, issue of how much alone time do we have? How much time do we have, just sitting still, trying to identify what are my own thoughts?
That's my negative is when you're on your phone, you don't have any thoughts. So
Wait, no, but this is profound. I just love this. I just love this awareness.
Thought you don't have to sit with your thoughts if you're on your phone because you're constantly being distracted.
Yeah.
And the other downside to that, Papa, is that you might not have any thoughts while you're doing your scrolling, but then when you're outside of the scrolling, constantly thinking about what you saw.
Okay, so let's go back now to tie it in with corporations and control of communities. And now you have corporations that are technology corporations, and you have people who, all of us included, would just love to be driven around so we don't have to think about what we're doing, or so we can think about other things that we want. But those other things that we want, Joshua says, are going to be controlled for us. So pretty much you're going to have corporations controlling all of our thoughts and all of our actions and all of our behavior because we're spending more and more time on these algorithms. And you're shaking your head, and yet you can't stop what's going on.
I think it's all of these things that make life easier, more convenient. Oh, it's going to cut down the traffic. Oh, having an ugly parking garage is a bad idea. So no, let's, have autonomous vehicles driving us around and dropping us off. It's actually, that's all going in the wrong direction. Like for me, just going with the cell phone, I have gone through all the different social media apps, every investment app. I've had every single one. I've tested them all out. I've been addicted to all of them in various ways, and I've played with it to where I've realized that the only thing that I can do to control my behavior on my phone is to just delete the apps. Because they have hooked me in so much in their various ways. Like take Robinhood for example. I mean, I check Robinhood for no reason other than I had it was there and I had it is just an escape. I don't know, 1,000 times a day. There's no reason. It wasn't changing the stock price. I wasn't gonna sell something. I wasn't gonna buy anything. Just checking it all day long. Same with the cryptocurrency app.
So you're telling us that these algorithms and these apps are creating addiction, and knowing that knowing that we're all such easy addicts. All they got to do is get us addicted.
And they're so addictive that they can come out with documentaries about how addictive they are,
and it won't change anything.
It doesn't change a single thing.
And it's not even just about, like Lorian talks about and Eli talks about, what they got addicted to watching and what they started noticing with patterns. I look at it because I've had to battle this myself. It comes down to just the color of the app. Just the color and the simplicity of a button. Just a easy function that you can do in the app.
And what happens when it's gone? It's like you feel like something's lost. You when you open up the phone, right? You need to see those colors.
Well, and it's not just that.
You need to see that. You checking it even if you're not even opening it. There's this pleasure in the colors that you're talking about.
Well, yeah, and it becomes so addicting that it becomes a routine that after, I have deleted all of the apps off of my phone, and so, but I will find for several days, even to this day. So I just did it a few days ago. I was listening to the Dr. Robert Epstein podcast on Joe Rogan, and he talks about Google websites, browsing, technology, how it's basically listening to you at all times of the day, et cetera, et cetera. I will go on my phone and I'll swipe around looking for those apps. Going, there's nothing to do.
You deleted them.
It's like it's like
That's
I'm
what I'm
having a
saying.
seizure, like, and then I'll like put my phone down because there's
Jesus.
nothing to do, and then I'll like go back through and I'll scroll around and like, I'll just go through my email. But I mean, even my email, I'm addicted to checking my email
So
constantly.
It's created a panic and a paranoia that we can't live without it.
Of like every 5 seconds, you need to be stimulated or doing something.
And that's where the focal point on how insidious the rules and laws are that these companies are allowed to do. That they're basically, it's changing human behavior. It has changed human behavior to the point where we can't put the fucking shit down.
Right. Think about our
Try it. We've done this, guys.
think about our trip.
Oh my God! Do you remember that?
Yeah,
We did. We almost didn't have a trip because we made an agreement not to take our computer, and Josh.
Well, granted, I did say I had to do a little work for the first hour or so. And that was on my computer, not
But
on
that's
my phone.
I know, but that is what we're
But that's
talking
what
about.
you're talking
You've
about, Josh.
convinced yourself that you have an hour to even do it. Papa, I can't get Rachel to go to 24 hours without her phone because I can't even power it
How about
off.
yourself?
Oh, easily.
24 hours?
Easily.
Eli's gotten to the point where
But it,
Wait a
but
minute,
Papa,
wait a
Papa,
minute, wait a
Papa,
minute.
Papa,
I don't know
hold on,
very many
Papa.
people who have
Papa.
turned their phones off for 24 hours.
Try calling me on a weekend. If I'm
Yes.
Let me explain though, Papa, because I didn't just say, cool, I'm snapping out of it. The first time that this happened to me was 6 years ago when I called you after I first deleted social media. But that also took me 3.5, 4 years thereafter of deleting it, downloading it, deleting it, downloading it, going in, going out, going in, going out.
3 years to get off of.
Probably more, almost
off
4
of
years.
What?
To finally get to the point where I've gotten rid of my social media apps and just I'm done. It took me a month and a half to figure out how to delete my Facebook. It was so difficult to delete it, not deactivate it, to delete it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. But then once I deleted my Facebook, I realized I can't delete my Instagram because I need to delete it through Facebook. So
Holy
so
crap.
what's happened is
Holy crap.
They've tied in.
Oh
Papa,
my God.
now I'll turn off my phone. I can turn off my phone for 24 hours easily. The difficulty is I have a relationship that's long term, so it's important for me to have my phone to
So
communicate.
you can turn it off when you're with Rachel.
Right. So when Rachel's in town, it's pretty difficult for anyone to get a hold of me unless I'm
Got
around
it.
her. But we
I
have
have
her phone.
experienced that with you, yeah.
Right. So just turning off her phone. So we've been doing this thing where we leave our phones in the living room.
And you want to know, by the way, you want to know what happens when I try to get a hold of you on the weekend? I say, look at this fucker. I'm at his disposal in a heartbeat, and when he wants to ignore me, he just doesn't, right? This is the reaction I have.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
instead of like, hey, kudos to you,
and
you know.
there's the problem too with texting. I have people in my life that will call me an hour after or 40 minutes, 30 minutes after texting me saying, dude, I texted you, or hey, why didn't you respond?
I know.
Well, motherfucker, because I'm
I
not
know.
at your beck and call.
I know.
And I got to that point in my life too where I say, hey, why aren't you responding to me? Respond to me.
Yeah.
Well, is it my job to respond to you
On
within
my way,
2 seconds?
What? Yeah. Okay. So, what is social etiquette for? What's an okay amount of time to break from responding to somebody?
I mean, I'd say social etiquette as far as texting is within 5 to 10 minutes to respond.
No. I didn't mean what's the norm. I mean, what what should our tolerance be? And obviously, it has to be different with parents and siblings than with co-workers and friends.
I
right?
think nothing for texting, because it's not important. If you're texting me, there's nothing important about that. You would not text me and say, "Hey, just accidentally cut my hand off while using a chainsaw. Can you come over and call an ambulance?" You would call me if it was extremely important.
I don't think that's always the case. Maybe with you and with Papa, you have that understanding, or you believe that would be the case, that he would pick up the phone call. But as we've progressed into using more and more technology, I in business will have people who will text me, and it's like, you should just pick up the phone call and call me, or that should be an email. But they'll text, and because they text and it is something that's important, they will expect a response right away. I mean, even like Tony, I'll give you an example.
These are clients.
These are clients. So Tony Castellato,
Well,
he's somebody who like never used to text.
This
I
is
wouldn't
different,
consider
though,
him a
but this is different.
I'm giving you an example because
But
he's
that's why I
making
said
an
you got
absolute over
That's
here.
why I say you've got to have a hierarchy.
When Jeffrey texts me, I respond to him very quickly. And Jeffrey and I joke all the time, because France just passed a law. You're not allowed to communicate with coworkers after a certain time. It's actually illegal now, and we joke all the time.
coworkers.
No, employers cannot contact employees after they have left their office or on weekends.
Okay.
So we joke all the time, because he knows we have these conversations. He knows, hey, if it's the weekend, I check in with him every morning, every weekend, on
Yeah.
Saturdays only. I just say, hey, is there anything you need me to do, or is anything going on? Let me know, because I'm going to be unavailable. And so when he texts me, it's usually because it is important. I understand that. But for business, I think it's different. But for personal, I don't see any situation where
Somebody should expect.
Yeah.
They can respond to you, unless it's your father. They
As
can
quickly as
respond-
possible.
No, they can respond to you even if it's 2 days later. It's okay, right?
Because if you actually look at the psychology behind Simon Sinek, he talks about this, where he says, when we're bored, we text 2, 3, 4 people, and hey, what's up? What are you up to? Hey, what's up? What are you up to? Because we want somebody to respond to us. But if I was genuinely curious and wanted to hang out with Lorian, I call him and I say, hey, dude, I'm coming down to the beach. You want to hang out?
So your
There's
qualifier is, if it's important enough, they'll call me.
They
right?
will, because that
That's
is
true.
the case. David
Okay.
calls me and says, hey, I'm heading down to Dog Beach. You want to meet up?
Yeah. Okay. So what if David? So if he'll text you that?
No, I said he'll call me and say, hey, I'm using it as an example, vice versa.
What if David texts you and he says, hey, how about what's today, the 8th?
Yeah.
So how about if on the 12th we get together for dinner with the girls?
That's totally fine.
No, how long do you have to respond to that?
If I don't respond, he'll probably call me, or I'll call him.
Okay.
And hold on, Papa, hold on.
So you're saying you're going to re-educate people that if they really want to, if it's really important, let them call you, because you don't want to take the time to...
Unless it's a suggestive text. And here's a good example.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every time I head down to Law Street, I text Joshua, Lorian, Noah, Jeremiah, and I say, heading down, or I'm at Law Street, if anyone wants to walk or come watch the sunset, and I just turn off my phone and I just put it back in my bag. And then they usually show up. They don't need to ask where I am, because they know where I'm at. Here's a suggestion. I'm going to be here. You can come. Joshua called me and said, hey, are you actually still there?
That's one way that you're actually creating what you want, so that you're not spending a lot of time on that.
Right. And I don't believe that it's a, hey, does anyone want to come down to Law Street? And then there has to be a conversation.
Each person has to say something.
Yeah, you
Well,
don't.
and what Eli says is, if it's important, and this is the way, like, I pick up the phone. Like Eli will send me this text. I don't text him back and then be like, oh, what time and this and that. Usually I pick up the phone call and I'll just say, hey, are you still down there? I'm heading down with the kids, or I think I'm gonna head down and meet you down there in like 30 minutes or an hour or something. Will you still be there? And then that's it. And I prefer phone calls. So I get so many phone calls. So here are some of the problems with calls and texts. Okay, there's both of them, right? So there's phone calls. Okay, there's the fact that, like, I don't know about everybody else, but I get so many phone calls. A lot of them are junk, and I always used to be like, I gotta answer every single phone call because maybe it's a client, I don't have their number, maybe it's a potential new client and I need to sell them on my services. To where now I do not answer my phone, and if it's important, what's going to happen? That person's going to leave me a voicemail. If they don't leave me a voicemail, it obviously wasn't important.
Are you in agreement with those?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then going to text messages, what?
I was gonna say, people will text me and ask a question, and I'll call them instead of responding.
Yeah. So somebody will text me.
I'll just call them.
Because you don't like texting. Yeah.
And I don't even like texting either. I probably text more than I should, but most of the time, if somebody texts me something important, I'm going to pick up the phone and call them, because I think things get lost in translation via text, even via email. I think the simplest, most effective way of communicating is on the phone or in person. But I get in the same thing that, Eli has brought up, where it's like somebody texts you and you feel the need to respond right away. So for the most part, I will respond whenever I'm not in the middle of something later on, or sometimes I just don't respond at all. And then, like, if it was important, they'll call me or they'll follow up with me. And I just have to constantly remind myself of how did we operate before this. And we had one phone and people left you voicemails, and you either for the most part, listened to them at the end of the day and called people back the next morning, or you listen to some in the morning and some in the afternoon and some at night.
Everyone happy with their framing?
Yeah.
I look great.
Yeah.
I want to put a hat on.
I want to have a tan like
I know.
DeLorean. I want to have luxurious life.
It's too bright on me, but they look great.
Luxurious life.
I think you look fine, Eli, honestly. It's just this side is going to be shaded.
You look like you've been in New York all winter.
I know,
and
that's
you're
the
like
problem.
Pasty, ghosty.
I sit in an office for 10 hours of a day.
Now you look good. In there you look good. Over here you look shitty. There's more than that. There's more than that, though.
Hang on. This is why we have headphones. We were talking about
No, there's all these factors, and it really does square up in terms of getting into business conversation about what makes somebody successful in business, which isn't your academic career.
Yeah, and it's not your.
No,
it's not how many
it
books you've
clearly
read.
is not.
I wrote one time that 99.9% of success in business is personality. So that kind of ties in with everything that you guys are saying.
I think that's why I continue to get so much work.
Is Poppy's mic on? Because I don't hear him in my headphones.